I can't see you, but I can read whatever comments you make. So if you have any comments, any questions, go ahead and feel free to submit them while we're on. All right. So anyway, I'm a transformational business and life coach. I'm an author. I recently published a book called Lead with Success, which I'm very proud of. It's a huge milestone for me. In fact, we're going to be launching our bestseller campaign on Amazon.com this coming Thursday. So I'm really excited about this great opportunity, to share about our experiences, our life, what I do, why I do it, what I learned, how I use it to help and support other people. Anyway, so I have been supporting and coaching people for about 6.5 years. I started my self-development training in November of 2009. And it really altered the course of my life. So when I started my process, I was three weeks separated from a 10-year relationship. And I chose to take a self-development training because I really hit rock bottom and I really needed to do something about it. So I ended up doing a self-development training where I learned a lot about myself and how I was showing up in relationships and why my relationships didn't work and why what I was creating in my life in all areas of my life. And then not only that, but how unhealthy my relationship with myself was, and how that was the reflections outside of me were actually a result of how I felt about myself. So I've learned quite a bit about myself, about the things that didn't work in my relationship, the things that did work. And then I've spent the last years hands-on coaching people on their relationship with themselves, on the relationship with their families, coworkers, dating, marriages. So I've helped a lot of people save their marriages. I've helped a lot of people in relationships that didn't serve them. So they were dating and they found that these relationships weren't healthy for them, that they were not even what they really wanted, and their choices were based on low self-worth, low self-love. Then I empower them to take on, making new choices, healthy choices, to be able to create the relationship that they want and attract the relationships they want. And not only that, but not end up wasting their time on relationships that were not in alignment with who they are and what they want for themselves. Anyway, if you can see right now, I have Jorge Vasquez just jumped in. And Jorge Vasquez, I'm just giving them a brief of who I am and what I've been doing the last few years. And anyway, so Jorge Vasquez is someone that I met through my own self-development training. And we've done a lot of work on ourselves, and not only on ourselves, but we've coached a lot of people directly and indirectly in leadership trainings and empowerment trainings. Really, it's all about self-love, self-empowerment, and creating the life of our dreams, supporting people and creating the life of their dreams. So we wanted to create, he and I are really good friends, and we wanted to create something to support people in dating and relationships. We've worked with a lot of people already, and we have done work ourselves, and we've been in the dating game, if you want to call it, for a while already. So we've learned a lot of things through our own experiences, the things that work, the things that don't work, the things that people do and don't do that work and don't work. And we really learned how not to waste our time, if anything. And when you have self-love and self-worth, then you don't waste your time on things that are far from what you're worthy of. So anyways, Jorge, hi Jorge, can you
Hey Sandy Lou,
introduce yourself, say a little bit about you and what you're going to share with well, I know you're going to collaborate with me on this, but share a little bit about you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. As Sandy Lou mentioned, I'm Jorge Vasquez, and what you should know about me is that I am very direct. I love to have fun, and I use a lot of metaphors and analogies that are very drastic to make the distinctions very clear.
Extremely drastic.
Yeah. So bear with me. I'm making a much bigger transition professionally, and so I'm being mindful of how I speak and to the audience. With that being said, a little bit about my history. trying to, oh, there's the camera. I was wondering why I kept on looking like I was twisted. Okay, so.
You're a little twisted.
A little twisted.
I know.
They dropped me when I was born. So where was I? Oh, a little bit about me. So I grew up as a Boy Scout, and eventually got into the LAPD Explorers, and then went off to college for briefly, and then faced life. Life handed me a good one. I was blessed to have a daughter at a young age, very challenging, and it definitely humbled me and took me down a very, very, very interesting path. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be completely transparent as much as possible. So the one aspect that I've hidden for such a long time is that I used to be a stripper. And a lot of people think that it's all glory and fun and games, and there's a lot of fun. I'm no doubt about it. But then it got very very dark and very sad for me, and lonely for that matter. But in all of that, I got to experience a lot, and a lot of heartache, rejection, attraction, and have discovered plenty of things in the single life of what work and what don't work. I haven't been married yet. I'm looking forward to it and finding that beautiful woman that's gonna capture my heart and stick by me. So that's me in a nutshell. As far as coaching goes, I've been in the coaching world for the last 8 years. Like Sandy Lou said, I met her through the training that we went. We didn't go through it together, but alongside each other, and we have staffed a couple of teams together, as a matter of fact, and been part of teams together. So I'm excited for tonight. This is a new venture that we're getting into. Sandy Lou is going to be hosting a singles dating workshop on Saturday, and so we're compiling questions and that people want answers to, so that we can support her in creating an amazing work. So that's it for me as far as my introduction goes. Sandy Lou?
All right. So anyway, so one of the things about, one of the reasons that I really wanted to do this workshop is I've been coaching women's revival groups for the last 4 years, I think 3 years. I lost track anyway. So it's been a while. I'm just finishing my 15th group, but it's a 6-week program. We meet once a week for 6 weeks, and a lot of things come up in these workshops about relationships. And not only do I work to build and empower the women in the group to really be in a space of self-love and self-worth, but when they do the work on themselves, then they in turn make different choices in relationships, whether it's dating or making different choices on how they communicate with their spouse or their children. So it transforms like everybody in their household when they work on themselves. But I noticed that there's just so much challenges in dating. There's so much challenges in relationships. Relationships are everything. So I can tell you that I learned a lot the hard way. I learned a lot about relationships the hard way. I made a lot of choices that were very, very unhealthy and that were destructive at points. So I can tell you that I learned things the hard way. So my goal is to support people so that you don't have to. And if you're already struggling and you're going through relationships, and I'm talking about whether it's your spouse or out here dating or any kind of relationship for that matter, that you don't have to. There's certain things that we could avoid if we're self-aware of where we're choosing from and what we really want and what's important to us and our morals, our values, and our relationship with ourselves and our self-love. So I learned things a lot the hard way, and through all my training and all my hands-on training, I've learned a lot. I've had amazing coaches and trainers that have taught me things of how to really be with people and understand people. And so as I've been in my own dating experiences, I can tell you I've experienced quite a bit. And it's been great. The first time, I was married for almost 10 years. So all of a sudden I was out in the dating field. I waited about a year before I started dating. And the reason I waited that whole year was really because there was a lot of work to do on myself. There was a lot of things I wanted to learn about myself and understand about myself, so I can better help and understand people. So the more I got to know me, the more I was able to connect and understand people in a way that I could support them and coach them. And so that's what I've been doing for the last years. And so I'm very excited about this because Jorge and I have spoke about this for a while already. I think at least 2 years. I said, hey, let's do this. I would want to do this one day. We decided, you know what, this is the day. Let's just do it. We facilitated one of the meetings for my women's group, and it came up, and we're like, you know what, let's do it, because we want to help people. We want to support people so they could, have amazing relationships, whether it's your spouse, your fiance, or the person that you're looking to find, to find you or find them. But anyway, so what we did is that we send you all registered. You send us questions. We had a lot of questions, and some were sent through email personally. We did talk to some people. Those people gave us some answers and gave us some insight on some of their challenges and stuff like that. So we also included some additional questions and things that we wanted to add. But ultimately, we're here to support you in creating the most amazing relationship with yourself as possible. So let's see. So if you have any questions, feel free to message in the comment box, right, Jorge?
Yes, correct. I just sent a message. You could either put it in the comments in the chat box. We also have a Q&A box, which allows you to ask questions anonymously. So if there's something that you really want to get off your chest or want guidance on, but don't want everybody to see, you could ask it in the Q&A box. We'll be notified. We'll read out the question. We're not going to say who they're from, and provide answers.
Yeah, thank you, Jorge. And Jorge has been very, very helpful in this process. He's the techie here. I'm so far from the techie. I'm learning. He's my teacher here. So thank you for that. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is we're gonna talk about some of the questions that people asked, and we're going to do the best to answer them the best that we can. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free, because some of the things we might say might raise other questions for you besides the questions we already have. So we're going to go ahead and start with some of the questions and start answering some of those questions. All right. Are we ready, Jorge? Are we going to start with these questions?
Sure. Okay, so the first question. How do you approach someone in a socially acceptable way?
All right. So this could go for either men or women. Obviously, nowadays women do approach men as well. But also you got to be clear on what your intention is, because you could give the wrong idea. If you're a woman, you might be too aggressive, too emasculating. So you got to be very mindful. Men, I think one thing, let me just say, women, if you're out there and you're open to dating and you want to meet someone, know that it's very challenging for men to go up to you. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't even matter how confident they are. There's a part of them that feels like, oh crap, like, what if she says no? What if she says no? What if I look dumb? And what is she going to make up about me? So one, let's give men a break. All right, let's give men a break. For one, let's give men a break. Okay, they don't have it they don't have it that easy. They really don't. Doesn't matter how good looking or successful they are. We get to be, respectful of them. If we're not interested, we're not interested, but do not be rude. So one way, and I'll have you chime in in a moment here, Jorge, and your input. But one thing is, as a male, I think this is more of a male question, that is that if you were approaching a woman, say it could be at a bar or a lounge or a club, even though clubs could be a little challenging, as we had discussed before. But make sure that if you're approaching a woman, that you are not approaching her, looking at her up and down. When you go up to her, do not look her up and down or flick your lips or smack your lips or do anything like that, because it comes off as pervert, sexual, you just want me for sex, whatever. Like right away, us women make up stuff. And in that impression right away is like the biggest turn off, and then you kind of look like a creep. Even if you're good looking, you look like a big question mark that says warning, warning, that big old sign that comes on. I think it's on TV sometimes, it says warning, warning, warning. So be mindful if you're going to go up and you're going to say something. It could be something as simple as hi, my name is John, and I was admiring your beautiful hair, or something that simple. And I, you'd like to have a drink, or do you want to, can I have your number, or would you like to have, go, dance? Would you like to dance with me? Men don't ask people to dance anymore. They see women dancing, and then they just go and like kind of gather up and start dancing with them. That is so wimpy. Come on, man. You got to start asking women to dance. So it could be that simple. How she reacts is about her, not you. So one is do your best not to make it personal. And remember that you will never know unless you ask. If you don't ask, it's automatically a no. And so if you ask, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose at that point, unless you choose to think you lost something. Can't lose something you never had anyway. So consider that. Any other tips, Jorge?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm assuming, based on this question, because for me it's missing like some kind of detail, is in a social setting like a nightclub or a bar, there may be other people with them. And so that could be intimidating or awkward, or like, okay, I want to talk to her, or I want to talk to him, but they're with friends. And so I often hear, and I've done this plenty of times, where they say, I don't mean to be rude, or I don't want to interrupt. And immediately my impression, my interpretation of that is that there's a lack of confidence. And so I say, be direct and be honest. Like if you're going to interrupt, hey, pardon for the interruption, but and just say what you got to say, because people get that you're not trying to be rude, but the only way you're going to have it in is by interrupting it. And so if you're humble about it, it should be no problem. The other thing that came to mind is, this is more for guys. If you're a guy and you're like hounding, like Sandy Lou was talking about a second ago, it's not gonna go in your favor unless you're like drop dead gorgeous. It's just not. Women pick up on that vibe. It turns them off real fast. But if you shift your mindset to, hey, I'm just gonna meet cool people and be friendly, and you start befriending people, and you show up as somebody that's alive, that wants to have fun, people want to engage with people like that. I know I do. I know that if a woman was to approach me and I got the impression that she just wanted to get a drink off of me, and she's like, no, get off of me. But if she wanted to dance and socialize, and I'm gonna be curious.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Right now that you're saying all that, I think this ties up to another question that we had about on the women's side. I think one of the things that some women struggle with is we usually don't want to be the ones that ask. I think especially as we get older, we don't want to be the ones asking or approaching men. But one of the challenges some women have is how do you let them know you're interested? How do you let them know, hey, come and say hi to me. I'm approachable. I'm okay. I'm interested. Like, I think you're handsome too, from afar, like, think when you go to a club, sometimes I know that I would have times where I would be like, they looked at me and I would be, all smiling, and then they looked at me and then I looked at me and I was like, oh shoot, they're looking at me. I'm like, oh my gosh. Right. And really, when it comes down, you got to give them a sign. So if they're far and you see them and your eyes meet, you can, it's inevitable. There's a lot of people around. When someone's eyes meet, they meet. There's no if, whats, or buts about it. Like, you connected in that moment. And for whatever reason, you connected. It could be like, oh, you look funny, or they look funny, or you just caught their eye, you reminded of somebody, but you don't know. But if you keep looking back, you're giving them an idea that, hey, I'm interested, or come talk to me. I'm here. Come in. I'm inviting you in. So by doing eye contact and constantly like looking back and doing the hair flip and just randomly looking over there, you're already giving them an idea that you're interested and that you want, that you find them attractive as well from far. So those are like simple little things, but it's really about you being in your feminine and if he keeps looking and you feel like maybe he's just afraid to approach you, or he's not sure, because sometimes when you're with a bunch of women, so ladies, if you're really interested in dating and meeting someone, you don't want to go with too many women. It's hard for a man to approach when there's too many women in one group. Now, because that's more of a party crowd, so you're going to get the party boy, not the one that's serious. So if you're looking for fun, that's a different story. If you're looking for a serious relationship, then consider that when you go somewhere, it's a smaller group of 2 or 3, not too many people, so that it allows them to see that, hey, you're more low key. It allows them to feel more comfortable when it's not so many people. But if you feel like they're, hey, like, wave them or even just wave at them. Don't be afraid to give them a little sign. It's not going to kill you either. You might miss out on an opportunity. He's not sure because maybe you're with your friends. So he's afraid if he'll go over there, you're going to dog him, or not only that, or maybe just make him buy you and all your friends drinks, which is why sometimes men are so guarded about things too, because some women overdo it and they take advantage. So be mindful of those kind of things. Right, Jorge?
Yes. So we have a question,
yes,
that you're already touching on. So let me ask the question. It's in the chat box. So if a female likes a guy, should she wait to get asked? What is the approach there?
Let's see. Okay, so in this case, and I've done this before, it's like you talk to somebody. Sometimes you talk. This could be 2 different scenarios, right? Well, it could be many, but like, for example, say it's someone you briefly met. You talk, hey, let's have a drink, or let's go hang out, or let's, or call me, or, you can say things like that. But like, for sure, call me on this day, or don't be afraid to say certain things. You're putting the ball in their court. So it's one of those things where we want to let them we're interested, but at the same time, you want them to take charge. That's when you really want to be in the space of the feminine and the masculine, and allowing him to step into his masculinity and take charge. It's not about control or surrendering. It's not about that. It's about stepping into your feminine. Men naturally want to take care of us. That's their natural born way of being. And women naturally want to be nurturing and loving, normally, right? Without all the guards that we put up already nowadays. But it's really about you not being afraid to say, hey, yeah, let's meet up for coffee. And, and they'll say it or not. And you'll tell them, call me. By saying call me, you're putting the ball in their court. They're going to call you. And you could put it out there again later. And, at one point you just get to understand that either they're not interested, or you've got to be super forward. But now being super forward puts you at the risk of being chasing a man. So be mindful that you're not chasing. You don't want to be chasing a man. I know some women like that, and some men like to be chased, but then those are not the best and healthy scenarios in relationships. And I'm thinking what else I want to add. So if they haven't met, it still comes down to the signs, the physical signs, the smile. the hair flipping, the, random little glares and looks, so that they know they could come their way. And if it comes down to it, you also have nothing to lose. So if you feel you want to just go for it, go for it.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Right? There's no strict guideline.
Yeah, there's
You gotta trust yourself.
no rule here. There's guidelines that most people observe and that pass down, from friends, and uh, some of these guidelines. I know I was taught a lot of things that are counterintuitive to creating actual connection, actual intimacy, and because I was inadvertently being taught how to be a player. So, should you wait to get asked? Um, the question I would ask you is, do you want the guy to be alpha male and be the hunter, or do you want to attract like the sheep, like the lazy lion? You know. Now that doesn't mean you're a bystander and you do nothing. Like Sandy Lou was pointing out, you flirt, and if you're not good at flirting, start learning.
Yes, you gotta flirt. You gotta, if they don't, you gotta give them a cue, because men are so used to being turned down that they're afraid to approach us. And some of us women, we're so demeaning and degrading and emasculating. So ladies, be nice, be nice. And you got to give them a sign. And if you're not interested, don't even look their way. If you see them once, don't look back anymore ever again, so they know that you have no interest whatsoever. And then they'll approach you, and you can still be polite and say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, or I'm just here with my friends, or whatever. But don't be rude. There's no necessity for being rude. Let's see, we have another question. Do you see it?
Yes, we do. And actually, these are all falling in line
You're answering
one
a lot
another.
of questions, right?
So this next question asks, how do I let a man court me? My challenge is that buddy, or I get friend zoned, the infamous friend zone.
All right, so I know we have another Q&A. We'll answer that one. We'll answer your question in a moment, but we'll go ahead with this one. So how do I let a man court me? For one, is you got to take your time. You don't get to give it up. You got to wait. So if you quickly allow things to happen physically, whether it's grabbing, fondling, and you let those things escalate really fast, you're not going to give it time for courting. So courting means they're taking you out, you're going to dinner, you're going on dates, you're going to museums, you're even if it's come by, I'm making dinner, we're going to have dinner, but you leave it at that and you take your time. It allows you to know what the real interest is. And I know ultimately, men want to have sex, period, right? But they also want a lot more than that. And sometimes we make up that that's all they want, and that's why we put our guard up and we right away shut down the moment we think or make up something. So, communication is key. Men are not psychics. They're not going to read our minds. We got to be honest about how we feel or what we're thinking. And that's the main thing. You got to take your time. Courting is about taking your time. So not allowing things to progress too fast. You got to trust your intuition. Your intuition knows. Women, we know when we shouldn't something, when we're not ready. And so you got to be mindful of what you're ready for, when you're ready for it, and also know what is it that you truly want. So even if your body physically is in that, you're being courted and you're dating this person because obviously you're attracted to them, in many levels, and part of it could be physical, and the body reacts to that. So even if your body reacts, take a cold shower, like use other options, like battery operated boyfriends and things like that. But take your time. You got to take your time. It's the best way to allow yourself to be courted and not end up in someone's friend zone or friend with benefits or F buddies. You got to take your time and allow them to court, to court you. I hope that answers your question. Do you want to add anything with that, Jorge?
Sure. How do I let a man court me? So when I court a woman, I pay attention to her likes and dislikes, and I tend to ask a lot of questions. And it becomes very difficult when a woman doesn't want to share of herself. Sometimes they're personal and intimate moments, and sometimes they're just everyday things that I can play off of. So I would say taking a chance in exposing enough information about yourself, that a guy can use and utilize. I often hear that there's a lot of concern about stranger danger and all these other things, and which is valid for women given the times. However, I often say, because I'll hear it from a woman from time to time, and they'll let me know. They'll tell me straight to my face, well, you don't know me. And I say, you know what, you're right. I don't know you because you haven't let me get to know you. Like if you're gonna show up with a wall, I don't know, it's tough. It becomes a bigger task for a guy to do that, to court. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too is because we do a lot of online dating nowadays. It's a lot of online where a lot of people are meeting people. It says you want to take your time because you want to make sure that they're legit. You know what? One, you don't want to be on online forever texting back and forth. That's just ridiculous. Either people are serious about meeting someone or they're not. So time is precious. That's one thing that we will never get back. So don't waste it. But take your time because you never know. I know that I've had my own experiences where they turn out to be married. So if I didn't take my time, guess what? Now I ended up in a relationship with someone that's married, or in a relationship with someone, or lives with someone, or things like that. So you want to take your time to make sure that you do get to know these kind of things, because the longer you date, the longer you're courted, the more you get to find out about things. And then sometimes things just don't add up, and you know it in your gut, and you know it, and you know it. So you got to trust your intuition. Just be mindful. Is it that it's not about the fear because of experiences from the past, but really like it's a gut feeling based on what you're hearing in the moment, what you're seeing in the moment, and what's coming up in the inconsistency of the information you're getting from the person. So take your time. That's the key.
Yeah, I want to touch on really quickly. I forgot to answer the second part of that question, which is their challenge in them becoming an F buddy, or they get friend zoned. So as Sandy Lou was pointing out, it's crucial that you give it time, because although there is no set rule of attraction and liking somebody, and sometimes you end up in the sack a lot sooner than later, but statistically speaking, the sooner you get to the sack, the less likely it'll work out, because especially if you don't know what the guy's intention is, and it's difficult to decipher because some guys will lie. And so, as the saying says, actions speak louder than words. And he'll show you. And at some point, you'll reach that point. But ultimately, it's also about yourself. I'm going to state it this way, and it's not that I lose necessarily respect, although that does come hand in hand sometimes, but I definitely end up losing interest a lot sooner, because I got what that physical heatedness, the animalistic instinct out of it. and I didn't overcome the barrier of getting committed or getting invested, you know. So as far as the friend zone goes, it's one of those polarity things. Sandy Lou mentioned it earlier about being in your feminine. That some women have it that being feminine is weak, and it really isn't. It's extremely powerful, extremely powerful. So much so that men have gone to war over women. I have yet to hear of a war started because women wanted to fight over a guy. Like that, it's unheard of. But guys are idiots, and guys will go to war. So show up in such a way to create that polarity, and you'll have that chemistry, you'll have that tension, and it gets juicier and better the longer you wait to act on it. And so don't give a guy a reason to be your friend. If he wants a friend and that's not what you want, send him on his way. If he does have an interest in you, he'll switch gears. That's it.
Yeah, and you just, as you're out there dating, you got to be very clear. What is it that you want? Is it really a serious committed relationship, or is it a friends with benefits? Is it an F buddy? What is that? So get clear. What is it you're looking for? And if it's not in alignment with what you want, then don't pursue it. Don't entertain it. Don't waste your time or anybody else's time. Be mindful of all that. Those are important things to know, like ahead of time. So if you're out dating and looking to meet someone, you got to be clear. What do you want? What is your intention? And that goes for men and women. It doesn't matter. You got to be clear on your intention. What do you want? Let's see, Jorge. We have a question here.
Yeah, we got a question in the queue here in the private Q&A. How do you know the difference between chasing and paying attention, flirting, etc.?
All right. So I'm imagining this is a question from a woman, but we'll give a perspective of both. But for a woman, if you're chasing, usually you're the one looking for them. You're the one sending them messages. You're the one texting them. You're the one telling them, let's go here, let's go there, let's this, let's that, let's this. What are you doing? And they're not really reciprocating. It's not coming back. It's not like continuous back and forth. It's just you. That would be chasing. That would be pursuing. And I would imagine this is when you know someone already. And in what was the other part of the question? Let me see the question. If you're chasing, it already cleared. Okay, so if you're a male, males sometimes like to chase. Actually, men prefer to chase more often than it being easy. When they're really looking for someone they're really serious about, that they really like, they'll keep pursuing, they'll keep calling, they'll do little reminders, whether it's a quick text, send you flowers, ask you out, find out things that you like, just do little gestures to let you know they're interested. Some of them will be pretty aggressive, and they'll keep showing up at your work and telling you hi and sending you messages. I remember I was working at a place earlier this year, and there was somebody that was a contractor doing some work, and he started messaging me while I was there, and he would message me, and then he would pass by and tell me something. And he was not disrespectful or anything, but he was like, he made sure I knew he was interested. Later to find out, of course, that he was in some kind of hitch relationship. So we never got to going out, but I was paying attention to the patterns, obviously. So I got to see the red flags and stopped. But, that was one of my experiences of someone that was kind of like just pursuing. We have some questions here. All right. So let's see. Let's answer a question for somebody that, let's see. We've done a lot of dating questions.
You want to try one of the relationship ones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do this one. My partner and I constantly fight, and they throw my infidelity back in my face. How do I help my partner get past this?
All right. So
Wow, that's juicy.
that's a loaded question. So that's a loaded question, but this is something that's common, and unfortunately, I want to say, because it does happen often, and it's both men and women, and I've coached both, and I've experienced both myself, both sides. I can admit that I've had my own downfalls and what I've done as well. I take responsibility. But one thing is that when you're in a relationship and there's infidelity, it's really hard to recover from it. Like, that's the honest truth. It's really hard for a person who was cheated on to recover from it and trust once again, especially if there's so much more than just the cheating, but there was a lot of other things in the relationship that were happening that were not, that made them feel like they weren't worthy, or that they didn't matter, or they weren't treated with respect, or things like that. And so when there's infidelity, it's really hard to rebuild trust. And when it comes down to it, it's a lot about actions speak louder than words. So as you start rebuilding again, now you get to go almost above and beyond. It's not about kissing ass, which is what we would call it sometimes when we're feeling like we're being challenged and we feel like forced into something. But it's really about, you get to rebuild trust. You get to rebuild trust. You get to take the extra steps to acknowledge, to appreciate, to say thank you, to say I'm sorry, and know that what you done probably hurt that person very deeply, and made them question their own worth, and things like that. It's very personal when someone is cheated on. You feel like you're not, you start questioning you. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough of this. I don't that. And you start questioning yourself. So it's not only about what the person did, but you start questioning yourself and your worth and who you are. And it takes a really toll. So it's really about building each other up again, supporting one another. And ultimately, at one point, and you really get to look at it, if you're staying in a relationship where someone cheated on you, at one point, you get to decide, am I going to keep torturing myself and that person for the rest of our life? Or am I going to choose to start from zero and work my way up? So, and I don't even want to say zero. Let's start at 10. Like, let's start in a clean slate, right? Let's just say we're going to choose to never bring that up again, and start moving forward from here. Because at one point, you got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive that other person. Otherwise, imagine being with someone for another year like that, torturing each other, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like, to live in a relationship where there's no trust, it's really hard. And I've been there. So I can tell you that it could really take a toll on the relationship, on one's self-worth. And not only that, then you start becoming rude to each other and disrespectful to each other and abusive to each other. And it could escalate, and these things could escalate pretty badly. I mean, people kill each other over things like that. So at one point, you get to decide, either I'm going to move forward and move forward in a positive way and just let this go and continue to be in this relationship and build it, or I'm going to end this relationship because there's no way I could continue torturing them and torturing me. Life is precious. So torturing each other, torturing yourself forever, not letting go, not forgiving is not a way to live. So you get to make a conscious choice to forgive yourself, forgive them, and move forward. Or, whether it's with them or without them.
Okay, I want to add something real quick here. So as Sandy Lou touched on it, trust is broken. Trust is just broken. I've been cheated on plenty of times. And in one particular instance, I was cheated on 4 times. That actually was my first love. And I couldn't get back to that place from before, because she kept on breaking her word and doing the same infraction. So whether it's infidelity or something, of less infraction, but when trust is broken, you need to repair it. And so one of the ways you repair it is by acknowledging it and being responsible. But what you also want to begin to do is to listen, because they're going to be giving you a ton of feedback, and it's not going to be the kind of feedback that's like, oh, please wash the dishes, and then you go do. No, they may unleash on you, and so do your best not to take it personal. But then you need to become consistent of the things that we're missing or are missing. So if there was a lack of intimacy, you need to start bringing that in. If there was a lack of paying attention, you need to start implementing that. And I read this somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but it does work. And the tough part is weathering the storm. So as much as you would like it to be done and over with in a matter of seconds, it takes consistency, it takes work. But a question you could ask this person each and every single day is, how can I make your day better? And whatever they ask, so long as it doesn't compromise you and your principles, you go do.
Yeah, actually, I saw that. That was a post on Facebook. I loved it. I think it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Everybody kept asking her, how could I make your day better? And in the beginning, she had a challenge with it, because sometimes we have a hard time receiving, especially when we're hurt and we feel like they're only doing it because they're trying to, kiss our butt, and they're just trying to make up for it. But they're trying to make up for it. And if they're kissing your butt, it's because they really, truly care.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they could have just gone with whomever, right? So
yeah.
So those are things is that if you're really choosing to stay and work on it, then you really got to be open to receiving and open to the fact that it's going to look different than it used to, because there's no going back, but the reality is that it could be so much better. And I work with people that have improved their relationship, that have made the conscious choice. You know what? I'm choosing to forgive. I'm choosing to let go, and I'm going to move forward in my relationship. I don't want to end it. I'm not leaving that person. So I want to make the best of it, and I'm going to choose to do something different. And the couple will have a conversation, and they make a choice and a conscious choice to say, okay, well, let's work on it. We're going to work on it. And these are the things I need to work on. This is what you need to work on. This is what we need to work on to change things and improve our relationship. So people do come back from it, but it takes two to make it work, for sure.
Correct. And the last thing I'll say is, energetically stop apologizing. And what I mean by that is yes, you made a mistake. Yes, you recognize the mistake. But if you show up like you're worthless and unworthy and just like becoming a doormat, it ultimately will fail, simply because they'll just continue to hang it over your head. And so, yes, you may say, I'm sorry again, but not from a place of disempowerment. Like, you're apologizing because you're committed to making the relationship work and getting it back on track, not because, you deserve to be trampled on. And so, because when trust is broken, and you want to repair it, you in a sense have to prove yourself again. But if they have no intention of letting you out of jail, they want to keep you in prison, because ultimately what they want to see is that you suffered the way they did. And there's sometimes no way of showing that, other than, hey, I recognize what I did, and let me show you how I can love you. And they're gonna be guarded, because I have yet to see anybody really break up because of the sex, or because the money was missing, or because any of that. It's really the deep rooted pain of the trust that was broken.
Yeah, when it comes to trust, it's like really, it's very challenging. I think there's when I see couples that have issues with trust, and it's such a, and being someone that used to have like major like jealousy, insecure, you know, my own personal insecurities, my own jealousy and stuff like that, like I really got to see how I was jealous and insecure about everything, you know, and so when they did something that was questionable, it didn't help my own insecurity. So be mindful. What are you doing that's questionable? Maybe things that you're doing come out questionable that create distrust. So be mindful what you do and what you're who you're communicating with and what you're, you know, just be mindful what you're doing. If it's not okay with you, if they were doing it, then consider that then it's something you probably shouldn't be doing yourself. Um, Trust is it's really hard to get back. I think there's so many posts on that all the time, but not to say that you can't rebuild it, but it definitely takes work. And like Jorge was saying, is like you don't get to be a doormat even if you did break the trust. You don't get to be abused. That's not okay. You don't get to, you know, like those are things that just because you messed up doesn't mean that you get to allow yourself to for someone to be abusive or condescending and rude to you constantly and constantly, because that's what happens. I mean, I know I've done it, I've been there before, and I can tell you, like I said, I learned things the hard way, and I've coached a lot of people on this. People do not get to be abused in any form or way for any reason whatsoever. um Someone.
All right, we got another question coming in here in the chat. Says, your marriage can't survive an affair. Healing from infidelity is hard, painful work. Both of you must be committed to repairing the damage, rebuild trust, and reconnecting. The unfaithful spouse must be willing to stop the affair, provide all the details honestly and completely, and take the steps necessary to prove his or her trustworthiness. The betrayed spouse must take the job of healing seriously by not minimizing or trying to speed up the process, and at the same time setting aside overwhelming anger and despair in order to learn more about what happened.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing about it too is that when someone when someone cheats on you, and when you're cheated on, there's also something that you got to look at within yourself. Like if you're the one who cheated, like what was it that had me cheat? Like what was missing in me, or what was missing in my relationship, or what was I needing that I felt that I had to go do this? Because sometimes we make it about everything else, but we don't really self-reflect. Not to say that it excuses the behavior, but we got to look at like what was missing, what was not working that caused us to do that, what caused someone to cheat on you. How were you showing up in the relationship? What were you doing? Not to say that it's okay, but we got to self-reflect. Like I look back in my relationships, and I look back in, you know, in my marriage, my last marriage in particular, because it was 10 years and I had a lot of insecurities. But when I finally chose and learned that I'm responsible for what was being created, like in a relationship, it's 100% me and 100% you. There's no 50-50. That's BS. It really is 100% me putting 100% of my best, or even my worst, but it's 100%. I'm 100% responsible for what I'm putting in, right? And so is the other person. So I realized that I was hard to live with. You know, like I was just really challenging to live with. Like I was always bickering. Nothing was ever good enough. It was always something, and always questioning, what time were you coming? What time are you coming? What are you doing? What, and then, you know, of course he had his own things, you know, and I'm not here to knock him because that's not what it's about. But I had a lot to do with pushing the relationship to where it ended up, you know. At one point he just finally got tired of it. He got tired of it, and it really pushed it brought the ugliness out in him, and now the tables had reversed, and I just didn't know what to do with it anymore. So it got pretty bad, and it was because I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and it all came down to I wasn't happy with myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't think I was even worthy of him, and so on and so forth. So when things like this happen, we got to take responsibility also. How did we create this? How are we responsible for it? Well, how did we show up in that relationship? Jorge, I see you smirking over there. I don't even know whether to laugh or what's going on.
No, these are some very good questions, and they're very deep, you know. And so I was reviewing some of these other questions that came in, and I figured, you know what, maybe now's a good time to have a little fun with some of these questions. But thank you, Yvette, for that comment, and definitely it is possible to come out of that situation much stronger. So you ready for the next one?
Sure.
Okay, here's something I've heard often, and
I think I know what you're gonna ask.
why do men lie about their height on dating profiles?
You know, somebody posted that recently, and that's why I thought it was so funny, but that's funny. Well, okay, so we'll talk about online dating, okay? People do not always put the truth in there, obviously. That's why you've got to take your time. But when it comes to online dating too, like if they're texting forever, they're usually just messing around. They have no intention of really meeting you. They have nothing better to do. It makes them feel worthy. It makes them feel like there's somebody in their life. And I mean, I know people that have done it for they literally text or message for a whole year and never met. Like, really, what is that really about, right? It's that neediness of connection and interaction or whatever, even if it's not real. It's a catfish. I remember somebody one day, they went on an online date, and when she got there, the guy didn't look like him. She said he looked like what's the uncle from the Monsters, from the Uncle
Fester?
Uncle Fester. She says, oh my God, he looked like Uncle Fester. He didn't look like the guy, like, hey, for some people, maybe they find Uncle Fester handsome. I don't know. I mean, we all have different tastes, but she was not looking to go meet Uncle Fester. She was looking for this other guy that looked completely different than Uncle Fester. And he even laughed when he saw her because she knew that he was not him. So I don't know why. I mean, I know some men are okay with height. Some men are not. Some women are okay with height. Some are not. I know me personally. I'm 5'5". I am 5'4". I'm shrinking. I'm 5'4", and I'm, I like to wear my stilettos. So, I'm tall, and I'm not, I don't weigh 100 pounds. So I'm, I like a big man, a big tall man, because that way I feel dainty and girly and all that feminine stuff that I like. So it's true. It's a truth, though. But then a man that could be my height or a little bit taller, their energy and their demeanor could be just that of a tall man, and I could still feel the same. So it'll still come back down to who they be. But I think it's just what they do because it's part of their insecurity or because for them, it doesn't matter that the women are taller. So they figure that once they meet them, they're going to charm them and maybe they won't mind. Because you see tall women with shorter men. I see it.
That last piece that you said, I think is more in alignment with the answer. I'm 6'1", so I've never had that problem, and so I would always get questioned, "Are you really 6'1"? I'm like, well, of course I am. Like, why would I make that up? And I just hear it way too often, and it's sad that somebody would go to that extent. Yet I have ran into plenty of profiles where, and this goes on both sides, where something's embellished. They either put a lower age because they want to date somebody younger, or because they don't feel 45 or 50, they feel like they're 25. And so things are embellished or skewed dramatically in dating profiles, to the extent where people will take pictures from bird's eye view at an angle and whatnot, mainly the head, just to hide their body because of whatever insecurities they may have about it. So I would say about maybe half just want a shot. They honestly want a shot.
Did you say shot with a T or shop?
Shot.
Okay.
They want a chance.
Okay.
They want a chance. They don't think they have a hard time approaching women at nightclubs. They're already short. they feel like they're behind the eight ball, can't get a break. And so like Sandy Lou said, I think they seriously feel like if once they meet me and they get to know me, they'll give me a chance. And
Yeah,
so
and it comes down to, and it's true though. So, because I can tell you that throughout the years, like someone will say, "Who's your type?" or "What's your type?" And if you looked at anybody I've dated, and what was married to, like there's no consistency whatsoever, like none, no consistency, because I really was open to their charm, to their personality, and that's what really, like it was never like the hard body or the super tall guy or things like that. It was really their personality that attracted me. So even though I can say, yeah, my preference is 6 feet and above, or 5'11" and above, or whatever, if they're not that tall and they have an amazing personality, then that goes out the window, because that's not my deal breaker. That's for sure.
awesome.
But
All right, we got another question in the chat. But before we move on, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for all you guys on this webinar. Thank you guys for being with us. We are at the hour. We didn't give it an exact time limit. Just let us know if you guys want to hear more. If you got more questions, please feel free to ask. We'll continue for a little bit more. I'm not putting an actual time limit on it, but I do want to say thank you very much for being on here with us and taking time out of your day to
definitely.
contribute to us, and hopefully we've been able to contribute to you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for being on. Your input is very important. I always say that my teachers are my students. We really learn a lot. I learn a lot from everyone that I ever come into contact. There's always an opportunity for growth and an opportunity to learn. I've had my own personal experience, and because we've had our own experiences, and we've been trained to see things that other people don't see. And no, we're not psychics, although sometimes people might think we are. And we've had a lot of training, but at the same time, we've also had our own personal experiences, and then we've had a lot of hands-on experience. So we do have a lot of insight, and we're still learning all the time. And so we want to share that with you. And also, please ask us your questions, even if it's after a year. We'll be having a dating, I'm having the singles dating workshop this coming Saturday, so you definitely want to join us. It's going to be a great event. It's $29, so it's like it's a steal. Which we did go ahead and post that as an option for you to register, and we'll go ahead and send it to you. We could send it to them again, right, if they want to register, Jorge?
Yeah.
And we'll post the link. I'll post the link as well. But you definitely want to consider that. But we're here to serve you. I'm here to serve you in any way that I can. So I know there's so many. There's probably there's tons of questions, and if we're open, we'll notice that everything you heard right now will start changing, and you'll start seeing things a little differently, and hopefully it'll serve you. Anyways, someone else wrote something about age, right?
Yes, correct. Why can't I attract someone my age? I always attract young people 20 years younger than me.
Well, you know what? I have the same problem, if I want to call it a problem. So, things have changed a lot drastically. And I think also with it's funny, but if you think about things like movies and how the internet has really changed and evolved things like movie The American Pie, where one of the friends gets with what's his name's mom.
Stifler's mom.
Stifler's mom, those are the kind of things that started opening up and making it like public about women being cougars and things like that. So men, are attracting, they're liking older women, and some are because their experience, and they know that women that are older already are comfortable in their sexuality and with sex and all these different things. Some of them is just they love the wisdom of a woman. They find it very attractive. It's very attractive to them. They find older women more appealing because they're already in a different level of self-confidence and are not caught up in the little petty things that maybe a less experienced younger person might have. So these are things they make up, okay? Because there's older people that totally don't got it together, and then there's younger women that totally got it together, right? So these are things that we all make up. These are things that people make up. So not only that, if you're older but you look younger, I know that I'm 43 and they always think I'm a little bit younger, you know, so I always get the late 20s to early 30s like trying to pick up on me. You know, my preference is someone my age or a little bit older. And although I did bring it down to a few years younger than me for my own reasons, you know, like we all have our different reasons why we want someone older or younger. You know, whether it's kids, no kids, biological clock ticking, not ticking, don't care if it's ticking, you know, all these different things. So men pursue older for different reasons. So it's those two different scenarios in most cases. So don't be insulted by it, you know, hey, you still got it, you know, and sometimes we look younger. So that's why they're not really sure how old we are. And since men have been taught not to ask women for their age because it's rude. They don't know. So then at the end, because we're older, we think they're younger, we ask. I know I asked because at one point I'm like, yeah, you're good looking, but something tells me you're like 10 years younger than me, and I really have no interest in dating someone 10 years younger than me. Now, you know, that's why you want to be clear as what you want. You know, what do you want? Because if you want someone for fun, well, you know, a young person, you know, might be fun if it's for fun, right? But you know, those are things to consider. What do you want? What do you want? If you really want a serious committed relationship, then maybe, you know, and you don't see it happening with someone 10, 20 years younger than you, then don't do it. Don't entertain it. Don't waste your time. Because once you get involved, it's really hard to get out of it.
So I want to add to that. As far as you know, attracting somebody your age, I would say to consider your environment, because if you go out to nightclubs, you're going to have a pretty diverse crowd, from as young as 21 to as old as 45, maybe 50 years old. And in those environments, you know, those are the heavy party scene type. So you're going to have the majority be in their, you know, between 25 and 35 years old. And so that may be what's contributing to having much younger guys approach you. So take a look at your environment.
Yeah, where you're going, right? Where you're going.
Yes. I have no clue your appearance-wise, but I'm going to assume, because you are attracting a younger male, that you do look young. And like Sandy Lou pointed out, that whole cougar thing and what media has done, and it's really liberated. But as for you to attract somebody closer to your age, set yourself up to win. You know, try lounges, try social clubs, try. I know meetup.com. They even have an app where you could attend different meetup groups of people of that caliber. Just pick an interest that you want, that you enjoy, and you should be able to find somebody far more intellectually stimulating as well, if not your age.
And not to say that younger women, I know someone said that younger men could teach you something. Oh, most definitely. I mean, it's not saying that, you know, young men cannot, you know, provide what we want or need, because, you know, I mean, my ex-husband actually was 7 years younger than me. So I get it. Obviously, I married him for a reason. But it's really about you knowing what you want, you know, and being clear about what you want when it comes down to it. And, you know, maybe the younger person can provide that to you. So part of you gets to be open, you know, and not so attached, but at the same time, you got to be clear what you want. You got to be clear what you want. And yeah, and you know, there's another website just in case. It's called Catch Matchmaking, and they actually have like dating events where they do them in age groups. They'll have like groups they'll even have like for people that are Jewish, Asian dating, ages 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 50, etc. So those are pretty cool, because now you're meeting in places where there are people within your age group that are actually looking for someone to date. So those are good things. But if someone's interested in you that's younger, don't be insulted. It's great. That means you still got it. You still got it. All right. So
Here's a simple one. A short question. How do I tell someone that I'm not interested in them?
I think you just say, I'm not interested. Thank you, I'm flattered, or I appreciate it, but I'm not interested. It's really about respect. It's really about not being condescending or rude or anything like that. You can simply say, I thank you, or I appreciate it, or I appreciate your comment, or I appreciate, that you're interested, but, I'm not interested. It doesn't have to be, it's not you, it's me. It's just like, it could be, you're not my type, or I'm not interested in a relationship right now, or whatever. It's just be honest. It's simple. It's actually a simple answer. It's better.
Yes, the answer is simple. I'm going to go ahead and assume here that the question came in because they either feel like they don't want to hurt the person, or like damage the relationship or something. But as Sandy Lou stated, there's no way around controlling somebody else's feelings. If they like you, rejection stings. And so all you can really do is be honest.
Yeah, and also to make sure you're not in those situations too. Is be mindful of your behavior and how you're showing up, because your signs could be very confusing. I know I've had that experience before where I'm like, oh, he seems really interested, and he does certain things that normally a person that was not interested would do. So it was very confusing in this one scenario. I was confused. I didn't know whether he was interested or not. I was interested, but I wasn't sure. And then at the end, it was like, no, I'm not interested. And I think he was playing with the idea. He wasn't sure either, but at the end he wasn't. So you got to be mindful of what you're doing that might make him think you're interested, or make him think that, oh yeah, I could pursue this person.
Awesome.
Something, right? We have a Q&A.
Oh yes, let's check them out. Okay, so here we go. Here's a question. I am currently talking to a gentleman who seems very interested in me. However, because of his culture, he can't date at all, especially anyone outside of his culture and religion. I'm not sure what his intentions are. How can I distinguish if he wants something serious or just wants to have fun until his parents find him a bride? Should I be upfront and ask him?
It's a good question. So so it's one of those, almost like a red flag, or a yellow yield. Red flag, stop. Red sign, stop. Or yield, yellow sign, proceed with caution. Because sometimes people are brought up in a culture where they're supposed to only marry within their culture, and they are supposed to be matched to someone else, and at the end they choose to find their own person and go against all the parents' wishes. But which it does happen. However, consider that this is coming with a lot of already red flags, and it's already coming with a lot of challenges, not only with that person, and not even, there's still more things to know about them, but it's also coming with parents that are already not accepting you before they even know you. It comes with a lot of, red signs and yellow signs, that say proceed and yield with caution, stop, don't go, etc. So this is what I notice people do. They meet someone, they find them attractive, they're attracted to them, and vice versa. They see a lot of red flags, but the attraction seems stronger than anything else. So because they give you something you need at the time, you pursue it, you keep going, you fall in love, now you're in love, 2 or 3 years go by, then you end up breaking up for the same reasons that you saw those red flags in the beginning. That happens one too many times. So consider, do you really want to put yourself in this scenario, in this situation, in the big picture of your life? Is this going to serve you? Do you really want to take the risk? So in all relationships, you're going to risk. You're going to risk getting hurt. It doesn't matter if it's your friends or your family or a male, female that you're in love with. You're risking getting hurt. And that's the risk that we all get to take to experience the amazing things that love comes with, right? But at the same time, you got to be responsible with your heart. We got to be responsible with our heart. If we see red signs everywhere, then what would have someone go and pursue it? When you know that there's a lot of red signs and there's really a lot of challenges. So, they say love conquers all and breaks barriers. And sure, very true, it can happen. But you're already seen all the barriers before love comes in. So do you want to go for it? Is it worth that? Is it really worth that risk or compromising your heart in this scenario? I don't know. What do you think, Jorge?
I think you definitely touched on it. To me, it states here, I'm not sure what his intentions are. And based on the question, he has revealed his intention. Now, he may enjoy you, he may like you and have an interest in you, and his heart might be conflicted as well. I don't know. However, does it match up with what you want in a man? So, in other words, going back to that alpha male or the lazy lion thing, do you want a man that's going to be told what to do by his parents, or do you want a man to be free and chooses because he's choosing? And so he's clearly out to have fun so far because he's out dating and doing what he's doing. Now, are you going to be the one that's going to sway him? I don't know. And but if he's communicating and telling you that culturally it would be, and religiously it'd be like a big taboo, and he's already told you where he's at.
Yeah.
If you want to take it further and see if he changes his mind down the line, then that's the risk that Sandy Lou is talking about as far as being responsible with your heart. If you go down that road, then know that he may still choose his religion and his culture.
Yeah, it's that same thing. Like when someone says, when you go out with someone and you're interested in them, they tell you, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious. And you keep thinking, oh, he's going to change his mind. She's going to change his mind. They're going to change their mind. They're going to change their mind. But they never change their mind. But you keep being involved in it, allowing your heart to surrender to it, thinking that maybe you're going to be the one who changes your mind. And it does happen. Not to say it doesn't happen, but it's very rare. It doesn't happen as often as we would like it to happen. But no, they're already telling you up front what they want and what they don't want. So know that those are risks that you take, with already information in front of you, and now you're proceeding regardless of the signs that are being thrown at you. And this is really common too.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take another question here. How do I avoid the awkwardness of not saying too much, but giving them an idea of who I really am?
Wow. For myself, like since we coach, you know how challenging that could be sometimes, right? Because, well, one thing is that we learned that we get to be open and authentic and all these stuff. And so I know that it could be pretty challenging sometimes because I see a lot of things. I can tell you, I see a lot of things when I'm dating. So it's really hard not to see it or not to say something. And so it's really about, you got to give them something, if they want to know about you, you want to say, oh no, I think sometimes I've said, because I coach, they right away, sometimes they feel like, oh shoot, I better be careful what I say or what I do or whatever, things like that. So be mindful of what you're saying, in the sense of, you got to be open and honest. So first of all, energy is everything. So if you're being authentic, you're being you, you get to be you and authentic, and speak your language. Don't speak mine, speak your own. and and don't say one thing. They always say, don't talk about your ex relationships. And what is the first thing that people ask? So what happened in your last relationship, right? That's the first thing. And you can say something like, it didn't work, maybe one day, I'll tell you more about it, but there were some challenges. The last thing you want to do is go talk bad about your ex or anybody. I remember I went on a date one time, and this guy was talking about his family. Like, he was talking about good looking guy, professional, successful. And he talked so bad about his family that I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can only imagine what he does with people he doesn't like, or he's not sure of, or he doesn't know. Like, it was so bad. Like, he became very ugly. Like, he went from very attractive to like a very ugly man, because he spoke so ugly about those people. So one is, don't speak ugly about yourself. You got to speak kindly about yourself. Allow yourself to be honest, but also at the same time, don't oversay, like, oh man, I was a bitch in my last relationship, so I scared the shit out of him, and things like that. I know it sounds pretty blunt, but you don't want to say that. What, I was very, I've had people ask us, like, what, I was very insecure, and it really affected the relationship. And and then they'll ask more about it. I say, oh, what, I've been doing a lot of work on myself, and this is why I'm single, and this is what I'm, we go on, and it's a little dance, right? It's a little dance, because then you want to ask them, and they're going to tell you something, or they're not going to tell you something. So sometimes you don't want to say nothing at all. Oh, no, don't ask me that. Or, oh, I don't do that. Oh, I can't. Oh, like, if everything that you say is, I can't, I won't, I'm not, I'm da da da, like, everything shows no, 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 no. Even what you're communicating is always constant no, then they're going to feel like they're not getting to know you, and that you're not authentic, that you're not open, and things like that. So it's really about, Jorge, you're laughing. I could see your little smirk. So Jorge and I have been good friends for a while already, and I think once we met, we just instantly clicked. But like, I could already imagine what he's saying or thinking, because we
No, I don't,
stories, right?
I don't think it's what you think it is. I'm actually smirking because I'm anxious to jump in on this one. And the reason is because there's a interesting story behind it. So I'm gonna give you guys a tip, but before I give you the tip, I'm gonna cue up this tip. Okay, bear with me. So a couple of years ago, I went to the Sexual Health Expo, and it was the first year that they were running it, and so they had a lot of panelists. So to give you an idea of what the Sexual Health Expo is like, it's like the porn convention, but without the porn stars. So all the toys, all the clothing, the exhibits and stuff, but no porn stars. There was a few there, but they weren't being featured, because it isn't about that. It's about the public learning about sexual health and things that they could do. So I decided to attend one of the classes on threesomes. And so while I was in the class, the instructor asked for participants, some volunteers, and everybody felt awkward. Everybody was like, oh. And so I said, you know what, screw it, I'll volunteer. I went up there. And so, and the instructor was male, and then there was me, and then we were still waiting a little longer, until finally some other guy went up there. And so we were going to mock a threesome with three guys. And that was the first time he ever had a scenario with three men up in front. So we played along, and he gave an amazing tip after we were done. mind you, it was a little strange for me to go through with it. So his tip, and this is something I apply whenever it happens, it revolves around awkwardness. And so this isn't just in a sexual context, this is in any kind of context. And so the first thing you do is take a deep breath. So you take one big deep breath in, let it out, and then you recite this this phrase: "The awkwardness is upon us."
That's a good one.
And you just take another deep breath.
Yep.
Because awkwardness is gonna be there, and because if you're not familiar with it and you haven't done it often enough, it's going to feel weird. And so the awkwardness that you have during that interaction it's really about you, because what's really happening? One person is talking, and then the other person is talking, and then you say something, and then they say something, and so where's the awkwardness coming from? It may not be the other person, because if they're behaving erratically, what does that have to do with you? Now, it can make you uncomfortable. It could, influence how you feel, but then you're generating that discomfort. You're generating that awkwardness. And so if you breathe through it and just keep going, it'll pass.
Yeah.
But that's up to it first. Awkwardness is upon us.
I like it. No, well, that's the thing. I think that one of the important things about when you do go on a date, or even in any moment where you're talking to people, if something is awkward or you're feeling weird about something, it's much more inviting, and it creates more connection when you can just honestly say, hey, oh my gosh, this is a little awkward, but okay, but this is awkward, or okay, I feel weird, or this is a little embarrassing, but this and this and this happened, and I did this and this, whatever. And just acknowledging the feeling is much better than trying to avoid the feeling. So like when you say that the awkwardness is upon us, I love that. I've never used that one, but that's a good one. Hey, you haven't shared that with me, by the way. So anyway, I like that.
Yes.
As you're speaking, I'm like remembering all these different scenarios where I've gone. I remember because, like when I first would go out on dates, when I first started coaching and learning how to coach, I would go on a date and it would turn out to some coaching session. It was hilarious. One time this guy got really emotional and he was going to start crying, and it was so crazy. And I was just like, I mean, at one point I knew I wasn't interested in him and we could totally talk, but it was just like, wow, what an experience, because this guy got really emotional in this meet. It's what I call a meet and greet. We met online and then we went and met in person. And that's just one of different experiences. And it's just the journey of the dating and online it's been very interesting and fun. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of very interesting people, good people, not for me, but good people. There's a lot of good people out there. You're laughing.
Okay, we got it.
Somebody posted.
Yeah, we got a question that somebody posted in the Q&A box.
Anonymously.
Did you and Jorge date?
No, we didn't date. You really? Jorge and I have never dated. We've been friends for a long time. We've even been roommates. But
yes.
And he's helped me a lot with my websites and all this stuff. So we've been good friends for a really long time. We've led a lot of leadership teams, and we did a leadership. What we call the learning the distinctions of a trainer, transformational training together. And we were actually buddies, and that's how we really became close, because we ended up being like buddies, accountability partners, if you call it. But we've never dated. Why are you laughing? Okay.
I'm gonna tell him the dirt.
Oh, really?
So she didn't like me at first.
Not true. Why do you say that?
No, we, like she said, we clicked. We were introduced by a good friend of ours, Angelica, and I did rub her the wrong way temporarily because of training I was captaining, and I was overstressed and passing on the stress. At the time, it was her, and we got past that. It was a team training. if you guys have kids or anything, feel free to reach out to us, and we could give you more information on that. But after that, we became buddies. We like she said, we did a trainer's training. We got stretched beyond belief, and we really got to know each other really fast and in a short amount of time. And then the rest was history. We ended up as roommates at one point, and the rumors flew left and right because, and we kept it under wraps for a little bit. I think it was almost a year before people started like figuring out, hey, wait a minute, she lives in Downey, he lives in Downey. The photos, the backgrounds, they kind of look the same, and that's when people started spreading the rumors real fast.
Yeah,
and asking that question.
That was even before all the Facebook stuff was in that. It wasn't as popular, but yeah. So no, we haven't. I think there's another question we got. I love all the questions people are asking.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a comment, not so much a question. Laugh out loud. Laugh my behindy off. That's what was going through my mind. Too, I just didn't have the guts to ask.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And then a compliment. Oh, thank you so much. But you're cute, Jorge. Okay, thank you.
He's funny too, guys. He's funny. He's only giving you a little bit of his jokes, but he cracks me up.
I was asked to be on good behavior today.
He was, because he could really get way out there, and we want to make sure that
I do.
He gets permission before that from all of you.
I do. No, seriously, it's something I've been learning to not scale back, but to like I like the way you put it. Definitely require that permission, because I definitely towed the line of inappropriateness. And for some people,
you were a stripper for so long,
Yeah, I was a stripper for 8 years. 8 years, yeah. So it definitely had a huge impact in my life, and to the point where I do things in automatic and not even know that I do them. Like I've been given the feedback that of being like a predator, and in my head it doesn't register because I'm just doing what I enjoy doing, and I'm being single and all of that. And so it wasn't until I really started taking a good hard look from that feedback that I started to notice, oh, wow. So as an example, like I know when there's a female stripper in the nightclub because she dances like a stripper. That's her automatic. That's her go-to. Like, if she's uncomfortable, doesn't know what to do, she does her stripper thing. And so apparently there's a male version that I didn't know existed. And I do it, apparently.
Yeah, go see him dance in a club.
Too late. I've been out of it for like 7 years. So
no, I mean when we go to a club. Not that we haven't gone to a club in a while.
I dance like a stripper at the club.
You do some of your moves. Anyways.
That's your skill. What you talking about?
That's a skill. All right. So
all right, it's
33 already. I think we'll start.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any more questions?
Yeah. Let's take any final questions, or if you guys want us to continue answering some of the pre-asked questions, let us know in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll bring this to an end. And I am extremely grateful for you guys being on. So let us know whether you have any more questions, or if you guys want us to continue answering some of these pre-asked questions.
There's a question here that I think it's a question we maybe could address if nobody.
Okay, so we'll have this next question be the last, unless our audience here chooses for us to continue going.
All right.
How's that?
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's number 11.
Oh wow, that's a good one. How soon before is that the kid one? How soon before you meet someone that you're dating do you introduce them to your kid, the kids?
Okay. So it's not about how soon really, it's about, are you ready? It's so, think about this, think of it this way. Do you want them to meet everybody that you date? Some people think, well, they got to meet them because I want to know that they get along or things like that. But you don't even know how good you get along. Have you already had your first argument, your first disagreement? um, do you do you know their religious background? Is it in alignment with you? Is the way he is with his family in alignment with you? His goals, are they in alignment with you? Have you really figured out these things with you and him, or her, her, that are like, okay, this is someone that I see in my future. This is someone I see I could really be committed to. So it's not about 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and people give you all these numbers, just like when is it too soon to have sex, etc. But it's really about being present to what's going on in the dating and the courting, to seeing if this is someone that you want to introduce them to your child. Because you got to see how they treat you first. You got to see how they react to different scenarios and all that stuff before you impose them on your children. So consider that you got to be respectful to your kids as well, and that if that person that you're dating wants to meet them too soon, or is pushing you to meet them, or things like that, maybe they're not being considerate of your kid's heart. You got to consider kids get attached too, and some of them want to see you with somebody, but at the same time, not just anybody, someone that's going to be sticking around. So you want to give it time first before you push it or impose it on the kids, because their heart matters, what they want matters as well. And the person that you're dating gets to be respectful of your children too, and that relationship you have with your kids. So if that person thinks they don't want to be in the relationship, so if you're dating someone and you don't think it's there for you, or you don't see yourself in the long term, then don't go trying to meet their kids. That's not fair to anybody. And sometimes you might fall in love with the kids before you fall in love with the person, and then that's going to be even worse. So give it time, date, court, that way before you start involving the children. And I know sometimes people just like, they never met them, they finally meet them, and then bam, they're moving in together. Remember that they also get to build a relationship with your kid. And not everybody does this, and that's why they have challenges in the relationships that maybe they could have already worked out along the way, because they did everything with the interest of the child, the best interest of the child, what was best for the child, and considering and respecting the child. So I don't know if you want to add something. I know I see you smirking, but I don't know if it's because it's somebody's comment, or do you have something to add, Jorge?
I think you answered it appropriately. It really does come down to putting the kids first.
It does.
Very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah. It's some people do it too fast, and then not only that, they're serial daters. So the kids meet this person and that person, and then that person and that person, and then the kids start making up things about relationships and about their parent, and then they, sometimes things happen to the kids because of that. Because
so
it's taking it to a whole other extreme, but that's why we got to be careful.
So it is important that the kids like the person, and so nothing can be more challenging than dating somebody for a few years and then come to find out that the kid doesn't like them, and they're just gonna end up putting stress on a person. It's a little. I'm split on this one, because kids, because they don't have a lot of baggage that adults have, they're very in tune. So if you do bring somebody around your kid, have it be as friends. You don't interact with them romantically, you don't any of that. just so that, you know, they could see that, hey, mom or dad does have friends and it's okay to be around people versus being shielded. But if you're being romantic in front of them and you're switching partners often, that that can influence a kid's perception of what relationships look like, and can come back and bite you in the butt later on when they learn about um, feminine grace and feminine power, or masculine and feminine, and just they can misinterpret it, and then they end up having their own hang-ups about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. One last question.
let's take a look. What percentage of relationships what percentage of a relationship is sexual? How much is considered healthy or a sexual issue?
Interesting question. Very interesting. Okay, so I guess it depends, because sometimes I mean, I've heard of people that they their partner wants to have sex all the time to the point where it's abusive. Like they feel like they have to. And I mean, in the scenario, I won't say too much because then it would give, information, confidential information away. But where it's really to the point where it feels like abuse. So if it feels like abuse and it feels like that's all it is, and there's no other kind of relationship where you're planning things together, you're doing things together that are not sexual. In fact, it shouldn't. 50% of your relationship shouldn't be sexual. That's kind of questionable, especially when there's so many hours in a day. So consider that it could be too much, but it's a matter of balance. So if you're doing a lot of things together, you're staying connected, the respect is there, the intimacy is there, you're making plans together, you're creating things together, you have goals, future goals together, there's commitment in the relationship, it's exclusive, things like that, then if it's too much. Only you could really know if it's too much. You got to be honest with yourself, trust your intuition, and see if it's just sexual or if there's more to it. But it also depends. Is it a sexual relationship? Is it a friend with benefits that you're not aware of? You think you're in a relationship and they're just there for the benefits. So you got to be clear about that. If it's a marriage, is it too much? Is it to the point where it feels like abuse? What is it? Or if it feels like, if you're in a relationship and it feels like it's too much, then you got to kind of check in with yourself. Like, is it really too much? Or am I having some personal issues that I got to work on, that I got to deal with? So I don't know. Sex is, you want to have a great relationship involves healthy, sex. A relationship without sex it's kind of hard for it to be a very healthy one. Someone is not being fulfilled in one way or another, and it's also a natural state. It's a natural being. It's a physiological want and need. So if that's not there present, and one person wants it and the other one doesn't, it's going to create issues. So sometimes it could be medical, sometimes it could be emotional, mental. It could be because there was infidelity and now you're having a hard time surrendering to it. So it could be about a lot of different things, but the reality is that you got to be honest with yourself. What is it really? Is it really an issue? And so,
well, I want to add to that. And as far as percentage wise, there's no actual percentage. There's no research or data that says 20% is a good amount. What I would say, what you want to take a look at is if your sexual drive matches your partner's sexual drive. Because some people are more sapiosexual than raw, lustful animal type. And some people are very career driven and could hold out because they're so involved in their career that they're either too tired or are just away on trips or what have you, and they don't interact as often, and that could put pressure on a person. So you definitely want to match them, not only in sexual drive but also in lifestyle. You know, because if you have too much time on your hands, you're gonna miss that person. And so you either need to find ways to keep yourself busy, not with another person, um, in a sexual way, at least, you know. Uh, but definitely, making that time is important. And I think that's what ultimately will define whether the relationship is going to succeed or not. Is that when you do come together, how is it spent? Because I've seen plenty of people be in relationship with all the time in the world, and they have about maybe 10 minutes of quality interaction. So you gotta be intentional about your interaction with somebody. If you're gonna be with them. Put the phone down, turn off the TV, and be 100% there. And as far as sex goes, if you're a bunny, be with a bunny.
Yep. That's why courting, dating is important, because then you see, is this someone I can see myself? Can I see myself doing this with this person for 5 more years, 10 more years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? If you can't see that, those are your red flags that say stop. You those, like, there's things that already, like, some people are very sexual just naturally. They're just they are, and some people are not. Some people could take it or leave it, and sometimes it's because of their own past experiences, and they haven't had great experiences that made them want to have more. But ultimately, you start seeing all these things from the beginning, and things change. So you also got to be open to the fact that things change as they go, and usually they don't speed up, they slow down. But it all depends, right? Because as women, we go through our cycles as well. Anyways, I think we're ready to wrap it up. We don't want to keep you here all night. I'm very grateful for all of your questions, for you hanging on all this time. This was just, our goal was for this to be organic and just in the moment. We didn't have like premeditated answers or things like that. Jorge and I have talked about these kind of things back in the past, and that's why we kind of laugh about some of the things that come up. But we have worked with a lot of people and supported a lot of people in their relationships. So, and we know the challenges that are out there, but also we know that it doesn't have to be that complicated. So if there's any other way we can support you, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to include the link in a moment of the workshop that I'm going to have for singles and dating. It's going to be this coming Saturday at 10:30. Registration starts at 10. We start at 10:30. It's going to be in the city of Downey at the Remax Sky office in the city of Downey. You could go ahead and register. It's $29 for the next 24 hours, right? Because the price is going to go up after the next 24 hours. So right now after 10 tomorrow, 10 p.m., then the rate's going to go up. Make sure you invite your friends. It is for males and females. So who knows, maybe you'll have an opportunity to meet someone there. I'm really excited about this launch. It's a singles dating workshop launch. It's my first one we're having. And as some of you might already know, I've been coaching for quite a while and I've been facilitating and creating workshops for a while already as well. And so has Jorge. So anyways, sign up, join me. I don't know, Jorge might be there. We're not sure. We're working out the details, but I will definitely be there to coach you and get you on your way so that you can find love. Maybe, hey, you never know, you might have that first New Year's kiss with somebody or your Valentine. So time is ticking. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of having it all. You definitely want to join me in this workshop. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be informative, and it's going to support you in finding what you want and being open to attracting what you want as well. Do you want to add anything, Jorge, before we check out here?
No, this was super fun. I enjoyed it.
Week, right?
And definitely, hopefully, I get to meet you guys one day. I know a couple of people that were on this call, but Yeah. If anything comes up for you guys at all, at any point after this, we end tonight, do not hesitate to reach out to Sandy Lou. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Ask your question. Get some kind of support or guidance. That's one of the toughest things for people, is to request that of others, because they don't feel like they want to be a burden to somebody. And one thing that happens in that state is that you take away from people being in support of you, and because they get the joy of being of support to you, just like you get joy and fulfillment in supporting others. So allow people to give to you.
Yep, and we're here to serve. We're here to serve you in any way that we can. Anyways, Jorge posted the link. Jorge, is it once we hang up, the link is off, right? Or do they still have access to the link?
As soon as we log off, it should redirect them to it if they don't automatically click on it.
All right. If for any reason you can't access the link, you could go ahead and message us. And the workshop for Saturday, it is a singles dating workshop, but it's definitely valuable information and things that you could utilize in your current relationship. So even if you are in a relationship, you're definitely welcome to join us in the experience. You'll get to learn some tips on communication and connecting with one another. You never know, you could feel like you're dating all over again. Anyways, I want to thank Jorge for supporting me in this project and for putting it all together. Really, he's the one that, technically speaking, this is without him, like, I would be very challenged. It wouldn't have happened this soon. There's a lot to learn, so I'm very grateful. Jorge, thank you for all your support, and I'm looking forward for us to do this again soon, because it's definitely it's fun, and it's great when everybody's participating, and all the questions that were sent to us were awesome. So everyone, make sure you check in with us, check our Facebooks, my videos, Jorge's videos. Jorge's been sharing his workout commitment, so you can follow his videos as well. And we'll be doing some work together. So anyways, have a great evening, everyone. Remember that you have the power to choose how you want to live your life from moment to moment. You're worthy of having it on. Remember, you do have a choice. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, everybody. All right.